Good evening, everybody, and welcome to round 8 of the European Formula Esports Series. We have got 3 rounds to go of this incredibly tight championship, and we're going to cap off the round 8 in the wonderful city of Austin. I'm ready to go racing around the iconic circuit of Americas. It is F1 on this glorious Sunday evening, where we head into this round with a 2-horse race, SET versus FZR. And then the battle for P3 behind is even more engaging as well. OMB, FST, and CTX also tightly contested there. And we've got 18 minutes of qualifying to decide the grid. And with SET last round extending their championship lead in Brazil, it is all to play for. And FZR will be eager to get back on the heels of the championship leaders as we head to the penultimate round and next week. But for now, we have got 17.5 minutes left of qualifying to get through as we await some cars to head out on track. Circuit of the Americas is always going to throw up some racing, incredibly long straights, incredibly heavy braking zones. Don't be surprised if we do see a few late lunges, especially from those in title contention today. But track limits is also something to keep a very close eye on. Warnings are very common here. It is very eager and enticing to cut over the curbs at the S section, and that usually leads to a lot of warnings and a lot of drivers going wide in order to find lap time. And that is especially going to cost you in qualifying because that will just completely invalidate your lap. But if a team can get 2 cars near the front, they will have a huge advantage as they head into the race. But the first car out on track is Yanni Corsoras in the SEC, looking to get an early lap in for them. But he's slowly followed by a flurry of cars looking to get their laps in early as well. Incredibly difficult track here in Austin. It's a very well-liked track, I think, by the drivers. It encourages a lot of good racing, and whether drivers want high downforce, which will help you through sections like this and the S section, but that humongous straight, if you've got too high a downforce, that is going to cost you dearly as the drivers behind you deploy all their ERS and their battery. But right now, they can deploy as much as that as they want in qualifying because they do not have to worry about charge. All they have to worry about is lap time. And it will be Yanni to set the first lap of the day, assuming he can keep all 4 wheels in the white lines. We'll find out as he heads his way down the main straight, rising the hill half the height of the tower around at turn 16 and heavy braking into turn 1, guessing where the apex is, but he hits it nicely. On the exits, back down the hill we go into turn 2, hug the inside curb, and then mostly flat out in the S section, to the left, to the right, back to the left, then back to the right, little lift just to get to the right of the track, and then back to the left, and then back to the right again, and then finally one more left-hander to cap off a wonderful first sector. Seemed to navigate it pretty well, and did the SEC driver, and then heading down the hill into another hairpin, heavy on the braking, trying to guess where the apex is again, and he guesses it nicely, gets wide on the curbing. That can gain you a bit of lap time then, hugging the inside as much as possible as you turn slightly right. ERS deployed down the straight and awaiting the heavy braking zone just after 150 meter board. Cut the corner as much as you dare, you can get away with track limits there, and then into the heavy braking right-hander, sharp turning, and then throw it back to the right, and then swing it to the left-hander of turn 15, I should say. Then flat out with the ERS being burnt around 16, 17 and 18, and then very difficult to keep it in the track limits, but he hits the curb nicely and doesn't go too wide on the exit, and then into the final corner, heavy braking once again, hold the inside line and go wide. That is a very nice lap from Yanni, I must say, and the 30.7 is not a bad banker at all. We'll see what the rest have got in response behind, but that seemed like a pretty decent banker. Swifty behind him has invalidated, so he will either go again or he's pitting now, so he won't be able to improve until he comes back out. Flurry of cars crossing line now. Simeone goes to P2 in OMB's fight for P3 in the Constructors. Eshi jumps him into P2, just 700ths behind Yanni, and Baranyas was one of those who invalidated at the penultimate corner, which is gutting really, because you get around the whole lap and then just to invalidate there is really kicking the teeth. JCM goes P4 for 31-1. See what the Williamses are getting up to. Crisis has invalidated, so he's coming in the pits. Demaiko with a very nice lap for FST, a 30.5. That is 2 tenths clear of Yanni behind. The other OMB of Marco goes to P6. As Miff in the other FST, he also puts in a good lap just behind Yanni with 30.7. CTX also the other team in that fight for P3. And you never know, if they do have that good of a race this evening, they could still challenge for top 2. They aren't too far away. But SET and FZR I think will be looking to keep this a 2-horse race. Up front, Lou only P9. He'll be disappointed with that lap. The Grandada goes ahead of him for F1AF. Bobby Lyons just behind him with a 31.7. And Baranyas had to go around the whole lap again after he invalidated. As Levense makes his way down the back straight. Those are your opening laps. Anyone who hasn't set a lap yet is either currently on their first one or invalidated. So a lot of people in the pits who invalidated will look to go back out early again. Levense will look to get one of the CTX cars into the top 5 with his teammate invalidating his lap. Keep it in the white lines through, and that was very wide. He did keep it in white lines, but I don't think he's going to gain him much time as he head round the final corner. It does still put him to P5 though, so without that error, Levense probably would have gone fastest. So he'll be frustrated with that, but still not a bad banker. As Crisis comes straight back out for FZR. Swifty also starting his second lap after he invalidated his first. We'll see what the TDR can do. The TDR have not scored a single point in the last 3 rounds, so they're really clutching at straws in terms of a big point finish, but they're still fighting for the minor places in the constructors. P6 is still realistically achievable. But regarding the top 2 in the championship, FZR have really not had a good previous 4 races. They scored 21 last time in Brazil, which isn't too bad. But before that, they scored 11, 12, and 6. And before that, they had scored a whopping 76 points out the first 3 rounds. So it's fair to say SET have definitely been the team on the rise, especially with their win last time out. Aaron Gibbo with a crucial win for SET. He is not racing though today. Yanni did race last time out and he was P6, so he'll look to follow in his previous teammates' footsteps. The other SET is MK, who needs to bring home a good load of points for them this evening if they want to extend their lead over FZR. But this is the last round where the championship can't be won. Next time out, the championship statistically can be won by either one of them 2 teams. We'll see how Crisis is getting on. Swifty went to P12 with that lap. Crisis making his way through the final sector now. And coming up to one of the most difficult corners on the track. Can he make his way through cleanly? Yes, he does. And FZR, without a car in the top 9 currently. Can Crisis change that up to the line? He goes P7, which is a bit more encouraging. We'll see what Lou behind can do in his second lap. 2 more drivers starting their laps now. Simeone in the OMB. beginning him and his teammate Marco could do with outscoring FST today, and FST already off the marks look very threatening. The FST, ever since that win in Monza, they've been very impressive, and another great drive in Qatar, but they did not score last time out in Brazil, and if they had a decent Brazil, they could have really been pushing for the title. But right now, they're just 4 points behind OMB, with Continex just 6 points behind them. So 10 points separate third and fifth coming into this round. And if OMB do still want a shot of a title, they are still 34 points off, so they really need a big influx by their drivers. Simeone, he's had a lot of races this season, very experienced in this division. And he should be the man to bring home the points for OMB this evening. But let's see if he can bring home a good lap in first. Qualifying is important here at COTA, but it's not one of the most crucial tracks to have a good qualifying in. You can overtake here. It's mainly going to be about not getting track limit penalties, which may decide the race. Simeone, though, around the final corner. Up to the line, and he does improve, but not enough to jump his position, but attempt separates second and sixth. That is how close we are running now. His teammate Marco's improving, and he's 5 tenths up in the middle sector. That is a big improvement from the Aston Martin, and he could see himself mix it with the front row if he has a decent rest of the lap. As Pesci now goes faster with a 30.4. The UFRT joining the party. They're not really in the fight for any of the big points playing positions, but they currently sit 6th in the standings, and what result that would be for them. As Marco jumps to P2 with a 30.5, very good lap from him. D'Amico is improving as well, so he'll look to reclaim that provisional pole. Yanni, I think, must have invalidated his lap because he's coming early. See what the RB of D'Amico could do here, though. Around the final corner, he was on pole, and he goes back to pole. First man into the 0.3s. His teammate Myth also on a lap currently. Levente on one behind. And Lou went to P8, but FZR won't be happy with P8 and P9 currently. They really could do with an improvement. Good news for them is MK is only P11 in the other SCC so far. But right now, it's not the teams we would expect to be dominating. FST have shown up once again. And Pesci in particular, that is a very good lap for UFRT. Pesci is 4th in the driver's standings. He has really been on some good form. And regarding the driver's standings, Barbotti is actually in the lead of that. And this is actually his first race. I think this is his first time not racing Barbotti, unless he's got a different username that I'm not aware of. Meanwhile, Levente went to P6 with a 4/10 improvement. A few other drivers out of sync. I think they're ready to come back into the pit lane now. Barbotti is racing. He must just be boss on, so he must have changed his username. But Barbotti is your Drivers' Championship leader. I'm not sure the drivers care too much about the drivers' standings, but it is still up for grabs with Milan just 3 points behind him, but he's not racing today. So it might just be a good chance for Barbotti to certify his grip on the driver's title. I think CTX will mainly be bothered at trying to reclaim 3rd in the standings. And to do that, they need to be FST and OMB. But currently, they're having a decent qualifying, both M teams. Myth didn't improve, he stayed in P5, but I think FST will take P1 and P5 every day of the week. It would be a crucial position, should they keep that. Now, Crisis invalidated. I think he maybe tried to do back-to-back laps. And we are running out of time in this session. Whether JCME has got enough time to come in and then change tyres. Levente is trying to come in, but he is out of fuel, so he's crawling back to the pit lane. Now Deck, without a lap so far, in the other UFRT, we'll see if he can match a pace similar to his teammates. But Deck, turning his battery to none, does that mean that he's backed off and he is going to come into the pit lane? I think he is, so he wants to make sure that he has enough time to get another lap in at the end. Only man on track now is Crisis, who is speeding to get back to the pit lane. He is going to be very tight for time, whether he gets round in the end. But then Swifty will be the first of the final runs to get us underway. And he's gone out very early compared to everyone else. We're asking to see a few more come out. MK, he's going to need to put in a very good lap to put SEC up there with 2 cars. Yanni has had decent pace so far. But the ever SEC caught in the mid-pack, and they don't want that come race. Marco also out early, and we've got a huge train of cars all coming out at once. Both Ferraris, another Aston, both RBs. So this could get quite frantic. And they're all going to come out together. Swifty might just get away with not encountering some traffic. Is Crisis going to get out in time to set a lap? He's coming out now, so I think he is going to have time. He's got about 20 seconds to spare, so he can't go too slow on his out lap. Meanwhile, Swifty will be the first of these final runs. But everyone else behind, they're all going to be setting the laps in that mini little gaggle, and they don't want to start their laps too close to each other. Otherwise, they will just get the dirty air. It's not like Monza where you want the slipstream. You're going to lose more time in the dirty air than you get from slipstream here at Austin. You know, there's a Ferrari gone straight into the wall. Harem, for some reason, is in the wall. I can't tell you why, but he's gone straight at turn 12. I don't think he's reversing, so maybe he's got a bit of a wheel issue here, and he's been disqualified. So Harem won't get a lap in. MK's just starting his lap. But Harem will be at max P15. Oh, never mind, because he's been disqualified. He's been knocked down to P18. So Grandada is left to carry the torch for F1AF, and they're still starting their laps quite close to each other in that huge little gaggle. Crisis is making his way around turn 15, and I think he's just going to get to the line in time. Swifty is mildly improving, but I don't think he's going to be enough to challenge those at the top. What is MK doing behind? MK is invalidated. MK is invalidated, so he is only going to be P11. And he's not got enough time to go again, I think. He's not got enough battery to go again. So MK, that is a huge setback for SEC, and the McLaren of JCME has also crashed at turn 1, I think, so he's not going to get a lap in. So a few drivers here crashing out of their own accord. Not getting their laps in. Marco, what is he doing? He is slightly down on his best time, so he's going to need a mighty last sector, and that looks squirmy coming out of turn 13. Marco, he needs a 2/10 improvement in this last sector if he wants to challenge D'Amico or Pesci. Burning every last bit of battery he's got, but it might just be P3 at max for him in the OMB. Around a final corner now, bobbing over the curb and up to the line. Marco squirms out the last corner and he does not improve, so it's P3 for Marco. Yanni, though, is improving. We'll see if he can displace Marco for P3. Simeone jumps up onto the second row of his teammate. That's a good starting position for OMB. Levente with a massive lap to snatch pole off D'Amico. D'Amico is down in a middle sector. We'll see what Pesci is doing as well. Yanni splits the 2 OMBs as the other CCX of Baranyas goes to P3. What a result they're having. D'Amico is invalidated and Pesci is invalidated as well. Where has CCX come from in this race? Myth is slightly down on his time. There's a chance he could jump to P6. But that is a massive lap from CCX. Around the final corner comes the FST of Myth, and he will stay in P8. But all of a sudden, Levente and Baranyas have jumped to P1 and 3. And they have spoiled the party of FST to snatch pole at the death. And neither of them were in the top 6 all session, really, but all of a sudden, Continex and Baranyas have put themselves in a great position for the race. And none of the top 2 in the championship are in the top 5. Yanni for SET, that's a good luck for him. And the championship leaders, Crisis in the FZR, their rivals, only P8. And then their teammates, Lou and MK, only 11th and 14th. So a very diverse grid. 1.5 tenths separate the top 5, and condensing that even more, 23 milliseconds separate the top 3. And Damaiko will be wondering how he hasn't got pole there. But then CCXs came out of nowhere, and that is crucial in their fight for P3 in the standings. They are battling FST and OMB, and now they are both ahead of their cars. So CCX are in a wonderful position now for the race. And the 2 leaders, FZR and SET, I'm not sure they were expecting the drivers around them to be where they are, but they're just going to be focused on trying to finish ahead of each other. But they have got to be careful, because if they finish too low and the likes of CCX or FST get a double podium, that could bring them into the title fight for the final 2 rounds. But we look to the race where sunny skies over Austin, to the relief of the drivers, I think. A simple 1-stop, I think, at Austin. Whether someone at the back will want to do something audacious, we will see. MK might need to do something audacious to get SET back in the mix. But Yanni will look to hold that P6 Marco selecting the softs. I'm not sure how long that's going to last. But Pesci in P4, that is still a very good effort for UFRC. And I think we're going to get going for 5 red lights in Austin. Someone's readied early. And we are ready in Austin for round 8 of EFES, and heading to turn 1, it is the Alpine blocking off Damaiko on the inside of the RB. There's a bit of ghosting going on, but Levente in the lead, not for long though, because Damaiko now retakes the lead. The 2 CCX follow through behind, ghosting through each other. Pesci holds P4, Yanni is up to P5, ahead of Crisis, who's up to P6. The Grand Data, what a start from him in P7 as we make our way through the S section. Damaiko has reclaimed what he believes is probably the fastest place on the track. Damaiko has been great in qualifying, and now he leads the race. The 2 CCXs follow through in 2 and 3. Pesci putting pressure on them behind, but it's mainly single file as we head through the second sector. We got underway very quickly there. I think someone may have readied up early. JC down the inside at turn 12, but has a half spin, and now he's going to be under pressure from his teammate behind, and F1 Harem as we head down the back straight. We cut to the leaders where Pesci is putting Baranyas under all sorts of pressure. Down the inside he goes on the Alpine. Does he leave the room? No, he doesn't. Pesci makes a bit of contact on his right front and now looks to the outside of turn 13, Ronnie on board with Yanni behind. We watch these 2 battles now through turn 15. Down the inside goes Pesci to take P3 in the race. Can Baranyas look for the switchback as we head into turn 16. Ronnie outside he goes, but just gets shuffled out wide, and flat out goes Pesci into P3. Great start from the UFRT and CCX have both lost a position apiece. Not the greatest of starts for them. Yanni will be happy in P6, but Crisis with a great start up to P7. The Grand Data also with a great start, 3 positions. Swifty though from P16 on the grid, up 7 positions. An incredible start from the TDR. Take a bow, because he has gone from P16 up into the points now. What a good result that would be for them. Myth, though, in the other FST, his teammate leads, but he is down in P15. Not a good start for him. I'm not sure what happened. And crucially, FZR Lou, the second in the championship in terms of the teams. That is not good for FZR. Lou is down to last, and that now leads Crisis to carry the torch for FZR. And he is behind his other rival, Yanni, in the SCC. So expect them two to be battling for position, because with MK and Lou both out the points, those positions are going to matter a lot. Meanwhile, Jazz in the other TDR, the teammate's having a great race, but he is tumbled to the back, possibly with a spin or maybe with a collision. We'll find out in the steward's room afterwards. But Damaiko still leading, but not for long. Levente down the inside. Damaiko tries to hang it around the outside, but shuffled out wide by the Alpine. Levente now turns to the outside. D'Amico's back down the inside of him. He does not want to relinquish the lead, but it may be inevitable. Right on the outside goes Levente, now with the inside, does take the lead, not without a bit of contact, but Levente does retake that lead that he lost at turn 1. D'Amico still putting the Alpine under all sorts of pressure as we head into turn 19. It's going to be very difficult to follow in the dirty air. Have a little look down the inside, even gets shuffled out wide now. And now Pesci is joining the fight and he's dragging Barañas and Yanni with them as we head on to lap 3. The top 16 all still within the DRS of each other as Jazz becomes the first victim of track limits today. DRS is enabled, and now that lead that Levente was pressuring for, he's going to have to defend it against D'Amico. But CCX, I think they'll be focused on bringing Barañas back into this race. They want control over this, and with Levente in P1 they can try and do that now. We head through the S's for the third time. It's an interesting tyre choice down the field. Crisis in P6 on the hard tyres. That just makes his start even more impressive because on the slower tyre, he has managed to gain positions. Marco also on the hard tyres as well as Simeone. So the OMBs both on the hard compound trying something different. And the only other hard runner is Mick down in P15. So we head down the back straight. Levente breaking the toe as much as he dares. Barañas right on the back of Pesci is not close enough. Single file down the straight we go. Anyone shaping for a move behind. Instead, still the top 16 all with each other. No battles which are breaking the pack yet. And D'Amico, I think he's realised he's not going to be able to hold the lead, so he's just going to sit behind Levente for now. He doesn't want to wear out his tyres too much. If you notice there, his yellow fuel light is flashing, so he has underfueled his car to preference performance, and whether he'll have to do a bit of fuel saving by the end of the race, we will find out. But on to lap 4, fastest lap of the race for Levente, trying to break away from D'Amico. He has burned through a lot of his battery doing that in the process, so Pesci just about keeping with the top 2 as well. Barañas follows through, he looks to have a lot of pace in the CCX, and then Yanni and FZR Crisis follow through behind. The Grandada for F1 AF also doing very well in P7, up 3 positions. And Swifty, as we mentioned before, up 9 positions. He is holding P9 pretty valiantly. He is in the middle of the 2 OMBs on the hard tyres, and he's at risk of losing that DRS to Marco, but still a very impressive job from the TDR so far to try and pick up their first points in 4 races. But D'Amico burning a bit more battery now. Does he want that lead of the race back? Levente's burning it as well. I don't think he wants to give the lead up just yet. And as we head into turn 12, D'Amico shapes for a move which stays behind. Pesci gets very close to the back of the FST. But he chooses to file through for now as well. So CTX as it stands would jump to P3 in the standings with this result. 1 and 4, that is 37 points, a huge influx for them. And with Yanni and Crisis down in P5 and 6, which will be a great chance for CTX to close up in the championship with just 3 rounds to go. Meanwhile, Swifty, who had such a good start, I think he might have made an error, which has dropped him down to P14. And TDR's day, which started so well, they have now tumbled to P14 and 18. And Swifty is lost to 7 positions of the 9 that he gained. Disappointing for him. As we cut back to the leaders, Barañas is having a look at Pesci down the inside of turn 1. That'll turn to the outside for turn 2, and he's just going to think better of going wheel to wheel into the S section. But Barañas wants both Alpines back on the podium. We'll make our way through. That's probably going to be a track limit warning. But riding on board with the CCX as Jazz has put an end to his misery, becoming the first retirement of the race. Yanni not too far behind, trying to put him under pressure, and Crisis, his hard tyres are just going to get better and better every lap. So expect him to start coming into this very soon. But as we head out of turn 11, I think D'Amico is a lot closer this time, and this time he does want the lead of the race. Having a look to the inside, and he goes a bit wide, and there's a spin. Spinning round is D'Amico. It was a late move from Levente. Somehow he's managed to hold it, I think, and he comes back out in P7. But in his desperate attempt to get to the inside of Levente, he squirms out. I think somehow he's got away without damage. An incredible save from D'Amico as Levente gets a 3-second penalty. And now Baranyas and Pesci are battling for the net lead of the race. Baranyas is right on the back of the UFRC. Just can't get by for now. But a disaster for D'Amico, who goes from P2 to P7. Will the stewards have a look at that? That was a very late move from Levente. And D'Amico was not willing to go to the outside, which caused the spin. Whether it will be deemed D'Amico did that by himself, we'll find out later. But now Yanni is all over the back of Baranyas as well. Him putting pressure on Pesci in front has left him vulnerable to the Mercedes and Williams behind. But Levente, he looked to be cruising in this race, but now he's got a 3-second penalty and a possible penalty for moving late on the straight coming his way later. Still CCX, no, they've still got Baranyas in this. A net P2 currently. As Levente looks to drop Pesci out of his DRS. Unable to do it so far, but Crisis right on the back of Yanni. This is crucial in the terms of a championship. Every point will matter for FZR today as we head our way down the straight. Crisis has a little bit extra battery, but Yanni is dumping everything he's got as well. He does not want to let this FZR by, and he will just about stay ahead into turn 12. The two OMBs now together as MK now puts pressure on Simeone in front, Rani outside turn 12. Here he goes, just has to back off as we head around turn 12 into turn 13. Dex had a pretty good recovery so far in this race, up a position. Not as good as MK though, who is up 4 positions. He knows SEC are in the fight for the title, and every point will matter. I'm sure SLR will be frustrated. Lou cannot catch back up. JCME also gets a penalty for track limits. As D'Amico looks to overtake the Grandado, who's at 4 position, having a very good race for F1AF. D'Amico knows he's got the pace to win this race, so he could really do with getting back in the mix with the top 2. As Crisis continues to put pressure on Yanni in front. FZR need to outscore SET today if they want a realistic shot at the title. As we head through, Yanni will still get the DRS on Baranyas in front. But can Crisis get a bit of preferred slipstream? And that is a nice exit out of turn 11. And now he's going to have a look down the inside. Into the hairpin we go, and Crisis, you don't usually see moves into there, but he's got it done. And up into P4 he goes, but now it's switched back for Yanni, who will look to get him back, but he's not burning his battery though. I think he just realises that isn't worth fighting at the minute. It is the hard tyres for Crisis, whose tyres are starting to come back into play in this race. Meanwhile, behind D'Amico is looking to reclaim the positions he lost, and he gets up to P6 ahead of the Grandada. Slide on the exit though, and the Grandada will look to fight back on the outside of turn 13. Just thinks better of it now, and now he has to try and defend from Marco behind, who has a look down the inside. Grandala defends it on the inside of turn 15. As we followed through, Marco just stays in P8. His teammate Simeone has dropped back a bit, and he has lost the DRS to his teammate. D'Amico getting that move done. He's on the fringes of DRS. To Yanni in front. It's going to be close on whether he got it or not. So we file through the final corner onto lap 8. Still the top 7, all with the DRS of each other. And Pesci is now starting to pressure Levente for the race. Winning the race on technicality through penalties is one thing, but if he takes lead of the race on track, that will give him a buffer to Baranyas behind. And Levente will do everything he can to try and make Baranyas win this race if he is at a disadvantage because of penalties. So Pesci may look to overtake Levente soon here if he gets a good run. And he's got an ERS advantage should he wish to use it. D'Amico though lost the DRS to the leaders there. So he's got to have a good lap to get back within them. Third penalty of the race goes to Swifty, whose day started so well but has really fell apart. Pesci gaining on the lead of Levente. Is he may be close enough for a move? He just thinks better of it, stays behind for now. Meanwhile, the OMB of Marco, his hard tyres are starting to come into play, and he gets up to P7 ahead of the Grandada, and that's actually allowed Simeone to get back with this pack. Swifty and Bobby Lyons go wheel to wheel into turn 12. McLaren up to P14, as Myth is trying to claw his way back through the field after his tough start. And he's putting JCM under pressure, but still not able to get ahead for now. Crisis, though, he was very quick, and that is a very early stop for Baranyas. I assume that is a 2-stop for him because he'd be very difficult to get to the end on the hard tyres. D'Amico has also joined him, and so has the Grandada. So everyone else has stayed out, and that has now left Pesci still stuck behind Levente. Crisis is up a position, expect him to go long on the hard tyres. But maybe it is just a 2-stop strategy here at COTA. We'll see if anybody can make a 1-stop work as Bobby Lyons retires to become the second retirement of the race. As we wind our way through the S's, Pesci still happy to sit behind Levente. I don't think Crisis will be happy to sit behind the both of them though, because his tyres are faster at this point in the race. We head out the hairpin. Is Crisis going to be close enough for a move? Lou in the other SNR gets a penalty. That is not good for him. Meanwhile, Myth goes battling with JCM, who spins on the exit of turn 11 in his desperation to stay ahead of Crisis. Meanwhile, the leaders go wheel to wheel. Pesci had a look for the lead there at turn 12, but Levente was not having it. And I think he's doing his best to back the leaders up here because Baranyas is trying the undercut. Meanwhile, Danny inside there goes Crisis, contact me with Pesci. And on the outside now, turn 15, has to relinquish the position. So Crisis up to P2 in a bit of an unorthodox way, but he gets it done. And is Levente trying to back up these two here to allow his teammate the undercut? Levente is pitting, and so is Pesci. Yanni is also in. Marco and Simeone stay out, understandably, because they are on the hard tyres. But these three now in. Where is Baranyas going to be? As JCM, I think, has had enough. He's just cutting every corner. Expect a race ban coming for him. Baranyas out the final corner now. Where is his teammate Pesci and Yanni? They're coming out of turn 1 now. There is Baranyas on the outside. And I think the undercut has worked here for CTS. They don't want to crash into each other at turn 1. But it is now a net CTX 1-2. Levente's backing up has allowed Baranyas to take P6. And that puts them ahead of Pesci, ahead of Yanni. D'Amico is on the back of this as well, because he pitted a lap earlier. So, differing strategies here. MK is the only medium runner left to stay out. And we'll see how long these hard runners can go now on the hard tyres. But this is your net battle for the lead. 5 cars separated by nothing. And this is the ideal position for CTX. Baranyas in the net lead. And then Levente, who has a penalty behind, knows he's not going to win this race either way. He can now defend against Pesci, but Pesci is coming at him, burning his battery. Is he going to be close enough for a send? Brakes late, but it's not close enough. And CTX still holds P6 and 7, but shaping to the inside there is Pesci. And he's eager to clear Levente. He knows that CTX are going to play games. And Pesci does not want to be a part of them. He isn't really fighting for a title. He's just looking for a good influx of points for UFRC. And so far, he's doing a good job at that. MK, the only other runner on the mediums, decides to pit, understandably. Meanwhile, D'Amico, we know how quick he is in this race. If not for that spin with Levente, he could be in the net lead of this race. But at the minute, he's at the back of this train and looking to clear Yanni. The Grandada has dropped off from the battle behind. He'll be hoping they battle like crazy so he can close back up. Pesci still unable to clear Levente. I think Baranyas is keeping his teammate in the DRS so that he can defend against the pack behind. It's a very good team play here for the moment. Gap from Baranyas to Crisis is 18.2 seconds. We'll see how much that gap goes down as the laps tick by. Old mediums versus fresh mediums. And they don't want to battle too much amongst themselves, otherwise they will be at a disadvantage when Crisis comes charging back at them in this race. GCME now a minute off the pace. Surprised he hasn't retired yet, to be fair. Meanwhile, the two CTX's trade positions. Levente retakes the net lead. And he has got fresher hard tyres, so that maybe explains why Levente probably thinks he is a faster CTX at the minute. Two OMBs though. in a very good position. Second and third, quite evenly spaced apart. Myth is running with Simeone behind. He's looking to get a double point scoring position for FST today, and by going long, he encourages that. Price is so, he's not allowing the cars behind to catch. This could be a big day for FZR if Crisis can get a good result as Levente sets the fastest lap of the race. Looks like he's been the fastest man of the day so far, but with that penalty, it is going to drop him all the way to P9 as it stands. Marco still stuck behind Yanni. It is a bit of a DRS train, but crucially, Baranyas has also got a 3-second penalty. So track limits is proving to be the bane in CCX's side today. And that now leaves Pesci in prime position. If he can keep it within the white lines, then Pesci will be on net lead of the race as Myth overtakes Simeone for P3. But CCX, that is a huge sum of errors. And now I think they're looking to break. They're burning every bit of battery they've got. Baranyas has got a bit of an advantage on battery and they're looking to break away. They realise they're not going to win this race by staying ahead of the pack now. They've got to break away from it as well. And Pesci is eager to not let that happen. Both CCXs looking to break away. And I think Pesci is just about done enough to stick with them. Yanni and D'Amico behind, just about sticking with it as well. As we head out the final corner for the 13th time. I think the CCX has tried to break them. They could still. Pesci is keeping with them. He knows all he has to do is stick with these two for the rest of the race and he will win it. CTX is looking so good at one point and they still could get a 1-2 today. But I've just got to pray the others get track limit penalties or their pace is enough to pull them away. Teetering on the edge of a second between Baranyas and Pesci, but he has just about stayed in. Yanni and D'Amico not letting them get away either. And that gap was 18 seconds and now it's down to 14.7. So they are catching the leaders. But the leaders' pace ain't too bad on old hard tyres. So Christ is doing a very good job. Lonely in P1. Marco's got pretty similar pace to him. As these three battle for the minor positions. Lou looking to pick up any points possible for FZR. But it looks like Crisis has been left to carry the torch. So Pesci sticking with the CXs, they weren't able to get away. And he's going to be loving the position he's in currently. He's got Yanni and D'Amico behind him. But in this DRS train, it's going to be incredibly difficult for either one of them two to make an impression. And meanwhile, Pesci has gone down the inside of Baranyas and a wheel-to-wheel at turn 2. Didn't even see it, he was that far back. Maybe a mistake from Baranyas, but he has just about stayed ahead. And I don't know whether that was a dive from Pesci or a mistake from Baranyas. Either way, Pesci clearly not listening to me. He wants that track position as well, but now that's allowed Yanni to get right up behind him. And D'Amico's right there as well. As we head down the hill to turn 11. To 11 we go, a bit wide from Pesci. And he's a little low on battery compared to everyone else. And Yanni now senses an opportunity. This is for the net lead of the race if we head down the straights. Pesci's gaining on Baranyas, but Yanni is gaining on Pesci. Having a look to the outside, but also down the inside is Pesci. As we head into turn 12, but Yanni's got nowhere to go. On the outside is Pesci of Baranyas. To the outside of turn 13, Baranyas shuffles him out wide, and now Yanni looks for the switchback. On the inside now goes Pesci. Contact made, and Pesci barges his way by. finally gets ahead of Baranias. Baranias looks back down the inside at turn 16 though. Can he get the move back done? Right on board to Maiko. He sees this chaos in front of him into turn 19. Baranias side, he will just have to back off. And now does he look back down the inside of the final corner? No, he's going to think better of that. But all of this is allowed Levente to breeze away, and that 3-second gap might just well be overserved. And now Baranias is back at Pesci. Pesci's out of battery, and now Yanni senses an opportunity to get both of them. Back down the inside goes Pesci, Yanni on the outside, and Pesci will just have to concede a position. D'Amico has to settle in P9 as well. Chaotic battling, but CCX realised they both weren't going to get away as they're nearly wheel-to-wheel in the S section. D'Amico having a look at Pesci. I think CCX realised they weren't going to break away, just the two of them. So Baranias decided to back up those behind, and now they've got a 2.5-second gap on them behind. Levente could still end up winning this race. 2.9 seconds, and the Baranias is doing a brilliant job here at backing these three up. Pesci is trying to get back by Yanni, but that's going to leave vulnerable to D'Amico. The Grandada is catching these three up. But how much longer can Baranias hold on to this? Yanni is ready for round 2, and this time I think he's going to get the position. No, he isn't, because Baranias sends it back down the inside. Yanni leaves him the roof, and on the exit at turn 12, I think he's going to have to relinquish the position. Yes, he is, and Pesci will now try and follow him through. Baranias still isn't willing to give this up. Back down the inside he goes on Yanni. Contact made, barging his way through. Yanni's squirming on the curb, and Baranias is somehow still holding on to P6. Yanni is going to be having a word with the stewards about that one, because he will be infuriated by that. D'Amico's practically pushing Pesci around the circuit in his desire to get by, but Baranias still holds P6, and he's got the battery to use to stay ahead. Incredible. Sergio Perez like defending from him here, and now Pesci decides he wants to turn Baranias as he has a look on Yanni in front. D'Amico unable to join this fight at the minute, squirming around turn 1. Goes Yanni. But the gap between Levente and Baranias now 3.2 seconds. This is all but guaranteeing a win for Levente. It's also allowing Crisis. He's actually pulled away from Baranias and this lot since the battle started. It's now game on. And Yanni, he's actually dropped back a bit from Baranias. So I think Baranias just held them off to get a 3-second gap. And now he's bolted again. And he's bolted enough so that he's broken the DRS of Yanni. So that is incredible work from Baranias to not only break the DRS of Yanni, but also get him out of 3 seconds from Levente. Incredible work from the CCX, and what strategy they are accomplishing today. The penalties set them back, but no problem for them. They could still be on for a win today, and maybe even a double podium if Baranias has got the pace for it. Now Yanni's just got to pick himself back up and fend off Pesci and D'Amico behind. Swifty also retired in the middle of that. So just 14 runners left. And these three calming down a bit after that crazy battle and realising they don't want to lose too much time here. Crisis though, 16 laps on hards. Maybe it is a one-stop today. Maybe the hards are just that much better. He is still going. And on the mediums, he is going to be an incredibly quick man by the end of this race. And maybe Levente may be a bit too fast to catch, but these three, they're not going to be too far ahead of him when he comes out. MK has caught up to Grandada, and Grandada isn't too far away from this train in front. So SCT may get a double points finish, but SZR in Crisis have got the better chance of a podium today. Yanni knows he's still a net P2 at the moment though, and when Crisis does rock up to the back of him, he will not be in a hurry to let him by. So Yanni back in the DRS of Baranias, sitting behind him for now. Meanwhile MK makes a move on the Grandada. He's got the freshest hard tyres of everybody here. He went 2 laps later than most guys. So let's see if he's now got the pace to try and reel in Pesci and D'Amico in front. Meanwhile Crisis does finally pit. The race lead is in, Marco stays out, Myth also stays out. Simeone is in as well. So Marco and Myth just going one more lap, I think. Where's Crisis going to come out? So Levente goes through. And I said he's just coming out of the pit lane now. That train just only goes by. So Crisis is going to come out. Deck is out the race. He's retired for some reason. And Crisis comes out ahead of MK, and he's right there. Crisis comes out right behind this gaggle of cars. And despite going 10 laps longer, Crisis has barely lost any ground. And if he can clear these four quickly, which he looks to be doing, look how much he's gained just in the S's alone. He was a second and a half back, and now he's right on the back of D'Amico. So, Crisis has all of a sudden thrust himself into a race-winning position, and now it's about how long it takes to get past D'Amico, and that's a slide for D'Amico, and then down the straight, Crisis is going to be all over the back of the RB, so we head down the straight to the inside, goes D'Amico, or Crisis I should say. Is D'Amico going to fight this as Yanni finally gets out of Barañas? Crisis is down the inside, and he takes P7. Meanwhile, Barañas is fighting back against Yanni. They go wheel to wheel round turn 13. Barañas on the outside gets squeezed to the inside. Yanni will look for the switchback. And as we rise the hill, round turn 17, wheel to wheel we go. Yanni gives him the squeeze. Barañas will hold it on the inside. Surely he's going to have to give it up into turn 19, and he does. But that's now invited Pesci back into the fight, and that has now brought Crisis right into this fight. And just look at how much more grip he's got over Pesci in front. ERS slipstream, and he's going to shape to the inside of Pesci. Pesci forces him all the way to the inside. Crisis is dedicated, though. Back down the inside goes Barañas on Yanni in front, and he gets a move. Great job there from Barañas to retake P3. But now they're going to have to look in their mirrors, because Crisis is the man on a mission. He needs a win for FZR today if they want to outscore SET, and he looks to be doing just that. As D'Amico rocks back up to the back of Pesci, he's still stuck behind him. Myth came out in P10. He surely is going to rock up to the scene quite quickly on these guys as well. Yanni, though, he is not going to want to let Crisis by in a hurry. He knows they are battling for the title, but look at Crisis's grip. He's only wheel to wheel already on the exit and heading down the straight in the wheel tracks of his title rival SEC versus FZR. This is what I've been waiting for. They're both gaining on Barañas now. Barañas holds the inside. To the outside goes Yanni. He nearly locks his wheels. Round the outside now goes Crisis. Yanni takes P3. Back down the inside, wheel barging there is Crisis, and Barañas just has to relinquish the position. Squirms down to P5, and now down the inside goes Crisis on Yanni and takes P3. Barañas now under pressure from Pesci, who's on the inside of him at turn 16. Nearly contact made. We found the flat out right-hander. Who's going to give it up? Barañas doesn't want to give it up. He spins Pesci heading off into the gravel. And now MK's up into P6. Back into the pits goes Barañas. Calamity to Pesci, who collides with Barañas. I think Barañas should have just given that up. Very clumsy move there from the Alpine, and it could have been so good for CCX today. And they're still leading the race, but Barañas has retired out of rage. Pesci tumbles to P6 from that. I think he's escaped damage. But all of a sudden, MK is promoted to P5. What a race he is having in the Mercedes. And that is a great recovery drive from him. Meanwhile, Crisis, 5.6 seconds off the lead. All he has to do is get within 3 to win this race. He will be catching Levente at a rate of knots. Crucially, though, as it stands, SET would finish 3rd and 4th. And that would mean 27 points for them in the standings, compared to Crisis's 25 if they win. So still, even with an FZR win today, SET are looking to outscore their rivals. D'Amico, though, I think in all that carnage, he got a 3-second penalty. So he's not going to be able to beat Yanni today unless Yanni gets a penalty. MK is rocking up to this battle soon. Pesci tumbled to P6 with that. And meanwhile, Myth, he's a man on a mission on fresh mediums. He is up to P7. Marco also on fresh mediums. You'd expect him to get past the Grandada soon. Jet through turn 19. Marco just able to carry so much more speed. Heading into the penultimate corner, and now the final corner, you'd expect Marco to get by soon, as Myth now sets a new fastest lap of the race. Grandada doesn't want to let this go, but having a look to the inside now is Marco, so much later on the brakes, and to the apex of turn 1 he goes. Marco is up into P8. So Myth and Marco on the fresh mediums, carving their way through the field, and the next target is Pesci, who would have been fighting up there for the podium, but that collision with Baranyas has tumbled him to P6. Still on for P5 currently with D'Amico's penalty, but D'Amico is looking to overtake Yanni on track. And that is wide nearly for Yanni. D'Amico's going to be all over him as we head out of turn 12, although that's a good exit from Yanni, who might just be able to stay ahead. Myth already is right on the back of Pesci though, and to the inside he goes. I think that's going to be a move done. D'Amico gains on Yanni, and that is a second and a half from the RB. He's never going to get that stopped. Yanni will retake that position. I don't know what he was thinking from back there, but D'Amico stays in P4, but his teammate Myth is right with him. It's SEC, FST, SEC, FST, as now Myth tries to go around the outside of MK. Marco is right with them as well. He needs to get by Pesci so he can use his fresh medium. Speaking of fresh mediums, Myth has got so much more grip. He's gone down the inside of MK. And at a flat out corner, that is the difference in old hards versus fresh mediums. And Myth now, right on the back of his teammate D'Amico, who should just let him go. And now he's going to have a go at Yanni behind. I'm sure Crisis will be loving all this, because he's going to see the SEC battling behind, and he is now just 3.4 seconds off the lead, and he just needs 5 more attempts if he wants to win this race. Marco takes P7 for OMB. They're fighting FST for 3rd in the standings, so they need a good influx of points. Simeone might join this fight as well. He's on the back of the Grandada. Pesci starts to drop away as Marco puts pressure on MK. Myth starts to put pressure on the 2 in front, and how do FST want to play this? Does D'Amico have enough grip to try and clear Yanni down the straight? If not, they really need to let Myth go, because he's got a lot more pace in his FST on those fresher mediums. Coming out of turn 12, is D'Amico just going to let this go? And down the straight, he's not going to fight it too hard against Myth. And meanwhile, Lou, fortunately for him, his teammate's having a great race. He's tumbled down to P12. Simeone takes P9, and Myth changes positions with his teammate to take P4. And now Myth, all over the back of Yanni, will try and get that position. Whether Yanni will fight this is an interesting one, as we wind our way through turn 15. And Myth crucially gets a 3-second penalty, so if he doesn't want that podium, he's going to have to pull out 3 seconds on Yanni in front, as Marco takes P6 ahead of MK. He does not have a penalty, so Marco could be on for a podium here as well. But Myth really needs to clear Yanni for the sake of his race. As we head out the final corner, it's DRS, ERS and slipstream for Yanni. Is he going to be close enough for a send into turn 1? Down the inside we go with Myth into turn 1, takes the position as Yanni looks for the switchback, contact made, but Myth has got the grip to stay ahead and takes P3. Yanni is not willing to give it up, but he does finally now. And Myth, has he got enough pace to try and pull away? Yanni just needs to stay within 3 seconds of him, and he knows he will take a podium position as Lou retires. Just 11 runners left in this Grand Prix, and 7 of them are all in this train now. D'Amico will look to do his teammate a favour by possibly getting ahead of Yanni and then backing him up to let Myth get a 3-second gap. But Crisis is within the 3 seconds of Levente. These two have been leaps and bounds clear out of the field today, but Crisis is on course to win for FZR. And after he started, where was it? P8. This will be a brilliant result for him, and the hard medium strategy is proving to be the better one today. Marco, Myth, Crisis, and soon Simeone are all in the fight for the podium here, as Myth does his best to break the DRS of Yanni, and he might just have done it, you know. Yanni has lost the DRS to Myth, so now D'Amico is going to try and get back ahead of the Mercedes. And Myth is now, his goal is to pull 3 seconds on Yanni. And as I was saying, SEC might still have gained on FZR. It's definitely not the case at the minute. FZR are going to gain about 10 points as it stands. With 12 and 7th, with 12 and 6th, their points SET scoring, FZR would outscore by 7, which would leave a 13-point gap going into the final 2 races. We've still got a lot to decide, though, in the final 5 laps of this race. And Marco can smell a P4 here, maybe even a podium if he can set after Myth. But D'Amico is eager to get past Yanni. He's been stuck behind him for laps now, and he wants to certify a podium for his team. But that's again a bad exit, and now Marco senses a chance to get ahead of the FST to the inside. OMB versus FST. This is crucial for 3rd in the standings. To the inside goes Marco. I think D'Amico's just going to have to back off. Yes, he is. Marco takes P5, and now he's going to have a go at Yanni in front for P4. It might end up being the podium if Myth can't pull a gap. But Crisis now, how does he want to play this? He's on the back of Levente. He knows he's going to win this race if he doesn't get another penalty. But just in case he does he want to try and get ahead? But that also risks Levente playing him into a possible collision. So Crisis with a dilemma, as Myth still only 2 seconds clear. That won't be enough as it stands with 4 laps remaining. The mediums may be starting to fall off now. They are 5 to 6 laps old, depending on how many laps they did. Simeone has rocked up to the back of this train. 4 laps to go, and Marco, on the alternate strategy, needs to have the essence of his life if he wants to get a move on Yanni this lap. Myth, though, still continues to pull away from Yanni. Whether it'll be enough by the end of the race, we will see. Yanni's actually trying to break the DRS to Marco. I don't think he's quite done it. And Marco's actually got a bit of wing damage there. I don't know where he got it from. But Marco is missing his end plates, which is maybe why he's struggling to keep with Yanni for now. 2.4 seconds the gap between Yanni and Myth. That is going to come down to the wire, I think, as Crisis starts to put an attack on Levente. Whether he wants the position or not is the question. And Myth is actually catching both of these two. He doesn't want to risk losing too much time. But Marco, even with that wing damage, has got a lot of pace. But through the S section, it's going to be very difficult to keep with Yanni with wing damage and with the dirty air from the Mercedes in front. And now Simeone, he's got fresh mediums, but his mediums are a bit older than those who pitted similarly. Crisis was the first to pit off from the hard tyres, so his mediums are the oldest. They should easily get to the end still. And I think he's just happy to stay behind. Marco, we'll see how close he can stick to the back of Yanni through the S section. He's still got grip even with that wing damage. But D'Amico is starting to come back at him. He doesn't want to lose that position because he knows that's not full position anyway. He's got a 3-second penalty. And MK will just look to hold off Pesci and Simeone behind. But just giving you an update on how the standings would play out currently. Myth has got that gap to 3 seconds. Meanwhile, D'Amico is having a look at Marco, or just getting out the slipstream. It would currently be 4th and 6th for SET, which would be 4th and 6th, I'm just doing my quick maths, would be 20 points. And with Crisis winning, that would be 25 points. So a 5-point gain for FZR, which would lead the championship at 18 points heading into the next round. So it is a gain for FZR, but not as much of a gain as I think they would have liked. Still, they can't complain. And Marco is starting to pull away from Yanni, and Yanni could still pick up a podium here. The gap is teetering at 3 seconds to Myth, so Myth is going to have the last 2 laps of his life if he wants to pick up the podium here. The gap's back down to 2.8 seconds, so this is going to be a chase until the end. Crisis, I think he's taking the safe option of just staying behind Labense, making sure he doesn't get a track limit penalty, and certifying the win here today. Labense, though, still P2, will be a very good drive. Whether his incident with D'Amico will be looked at by the stewards, we'll have a look. Meanwhile, Yanni did not have a very good S section, and Marco now senses a chance of taking P4, so maybe it's not going to be P3, maybe it's not even going to be a top 5, because Marco is gaining and gaining on Yanni, not burning his battery though. I think he wants to leave this till the last lap. So that's an interesting decision there from Marco. I thought he was going to send it there on Yanni, but Yanni now looks flustered, trying to stay ahead of the OMB. And is it down the side for Marco? Yes, it is. Massive send on the SEC, and is Yanni going to have to give it up? Yes, he is. So Marco takes P4 in this race. And the SEC now tumbles to 5 and 7. And even with that wing damage, Marco has still got the pace to challenge Yanni on all hards. Simeone gets a penalty, but he's dropped off from this train, so he's in a bit of his own world. But one more lap, and that is going to certify Myth in P3. That battle has allowed Myth to grow a gap. And that now leaves Marco to try and fend off Yanni for P4. MK is trying to fend off P8 of Pesci. But these three foul through. D'Amico would have been in this as well if he didn't get that penalty. But Yanni with a very good chance to retake P4 here. But Marco knows these points are crucial for OMB, especially with Labense up there in P4. That looked a little wide for Marco, but on the exit, that's not a bad exit at all, and it's wheel spin for Yanni, and now D'Amico may try and get ahead. Crisis, though, battling with Labense. He didn't want to leave it till the last lap, gets shoved off the track. Crisis down the inside, does take the lead of the race, but now Labense retakes it back. I don't know why Crisis risked it that much, but he's just going to try and stay ahead. Marco is still ahead of Yanni as MK battles with Pesci. And MK just about holds on to P7, I think. But it is going to be Labense who wins this race on track. But that early penalty has cost him. CCX did their best, but in the end, the alternate strategy for Crisis is going to pay dividends. Round the final corner we go. Labense wins it on track, but it's Crisis for FZR to pick up a massive win for the Williams outfit. Myth is going to come home in P3, a great result for FST. Round the final corner we go. Marco in P4, Yanni P5, MK P6, Pesci P7 and P8 for D'Amico after penalties are applied. Simeone is P9 and the two Ferraris of Grandad and Harem round out the 11th finishing positions. But what a drive from Crisis to win at the death. And with SEC 5th and 6th, never mind, that is a 7-point swing. So 16 points will be the gap going into the next round. And how crucial could that move by Marco be come the end of this race? A decent points haul for OMB as well. And also a very good points haul for FST in 3rd and 8th. That's going to make their battle with OMB and CCX lively as well, with Labense up there in P2. CCX could have had a 1-2 at some point, but Baranyas retiring in a rage after that collision with Pesci. That's a decent effort from Pesci in P7. He could have been even higher had he not had that collision. But what a race here in Kota. Kota always springs up as surprise. And FZR, unfortunately, Lou was not in the points, but Crisis, it was a huge damage limitation, and he turned that damage limitation into an increase on SET, and he's dwindled down the gap in the championship as we head to the next round next weekend in Singapore, the penultimate round of the season where this title fight is heating up. So congratulations to Crisis and every driver who finished with all the DNFs today. But that is it from me, and thank you all for watching. Goodbye. See you in Singapore.